Welcome to the Powerful Podcast, where you will learn the marketing, strategies, and beliefs to grow your dream business. Totally possible, and I'm so excited to share this with you. I'm Almira Bardai, and I grew and scaled my own business from zero to multi-millions and sold the business. And now I'm here to teach you exactly how to grow and scale your business from 6 to 7 figures and more with ease, simplicity, joy, and fun with, of course, strategy, mindset, and marketing to take you to that next level. On today's episode, I'm sharing my story of how I grew my business, a PR and social media company, from $0 to multi-7 figures. And what was the strategies, tactics, marketing, and mindset that I needed to grow my business. So just to give you a little bit of a background, before I started my business, my background is in PR. I got my clients into the media, worked on their thought leadership, their profile, worked on awards, speaking nominations, and very much media relations and publicity. That is the job of a PR person. And so I'd worked previously for the government, I'd worked for an agency, and it was wild. The agency I worked for, the top 3 agencies in the country, and I worked on clients like Nike, American Express, Starwood, our biggest hotel chains throughout North America. It was crazy. I was in my early 20s doing this work. Then I decided I wanted to move to the UK. And at the time, just before I was actually deciding to move, the tech market had just exploded. And so recruiters were placing foreigners who were only allowed to work like in a bar, a pub, or in a shop because they had the holidaymaker visa. They were placing them into what I would say like regular jobs in companies and in agencies because the market was so hot. Soon after that, the tech market had bombed. And so it was really about like, if you want a real job, go and find one yourself. So I started looking around, networking, just asking for intros, because that's my way of like really growing my business is just who is it in my network that I know, and this would actually help as I grew my own PR agency was asking for a referral, asking for an intro. Anyways, going back to London, I was on the tube one day and see this ad for Cobra beer, an Indian beer brand that would soon explode to be the hottest beer brand in the UK and in Europe, and even expanded internationally. So I sat on the tube and I said, okay, well, I know beer. I did a ton of PR work in my old agency for our biggest brewer in the country. And I cold called the marketing director and I said, hey, are you looking for a PR person? And he says, actually, I'm looking for a secretary. So I cut him a deal because I believe there's no such thing as no, or as I now like to say, there's always a yes. So I cut him a deal. I will work as your secretary if you also let me do PR. So he said on a secretary salary, and I said, of course. And there you go. Boom. I ended up working for Cobra as the secretary to the marketing director, but also doing PR. Fast forward to a year, I ended up being promoted to head of global PR. I was 25 years old. It was wild. And my entrepreneur, founder, boss, he was the hottest entrepreneur in the UK. Like it was him and Branson and another entrepreneur who founded a company called Yo Sushi. They were the top 3 entrepreneurs in the UK. Got him so much press and, awards like Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. His mentor was actually Richard Branson, and it was wild. Our company, Cobra Beer, had also come up with these new stunning bottles. They were embossed bottles. And they were the hottest thing on the market. Selfridges called me to put our bottles in their windows. I was like, oh, do you always do this for free? And they're like, no, people have to pay thousands of pounds. Like it was wild. And it was amazing to be at the forefront leading the charge for publicity and for brand awareness for this super cool brand. And the brand started to expand internationally in other markets throughout Europe, in South Africa, in India, and in New York, and even into Canada. And me, as head of global PR, I had agencies around the world that I was managing. I had a full team managing internal communications, external communications, publicity, PR. It was amazing. I was there living this amazing PR life in London. And then I really wanted to spend some time in Australia. So I actually ended up quitting my job in the UK, which was amazing. And then I moved to Australia. I was working there in communications. And then I ended up coming back to Vancouver. And nobody would actually hire me because they said, you'd been gone for too long, which I found is actually quite typical of the Canadian market. And so I had 2 contacts left in Vancouver. I hadn't expected that I would move back. So I reached out to my 2 contacts and they said, yeah, we've got some PR work for you. And that's how I started consulting. And then my business grew and grew. And actually, I was really lucky as a freelancer. My business grew easily. I did really well my first few months, or actually my first couple of years. Then I ended up meeting my future business partner, and she had a background in film and entertainment PR. And my background was in consumer brands. Again, I'd done like Nike, beer brands, hotels, American Express, like very consumer oriented, chocolate companies, things like that. So we looked at our skill set of the clients that we had and the industries that we worked in, and also our complementary skill sets. Like I said previously, like she really loved to do biz dev. And for me, I loved to run the company. I've got this this love of running businesses and companies and deep insights into it. Hello, in human design, I'm a projector. It totally makes sense. And I also love to run the clients, the client relationships. And so, yeah, looked at each other and said, we've got something here. Why don't we merge our smaller companies? And boom. Now, when that all was happening, that was 2008 when the housing market and the markets were all tanking. But we decided, you know what, we're going to merge our PR companies and let's do this and let's grow it. And the idea at the beginning was that it would be just the two of us. If we got busy enough, we'd hire contractors, maybe an admin assistant. But that first month we got so busy, we had to hire 4 contractors and everything just like exploded. And the company was called Jive. Here's a fun fact for you is that apparently back in the 60s, Jive talk was bullshit talk. So as we were told by a journalist a couple of years later, he's like, you know that you named your company Bullshit PR, right? And we were like, what? Oh my God, horrifying. Can't believe we did that. But then we're like, actually, it kind of fits. PR, bullshit, right? Not to knock the PR industry, because honestly, publicity is so important. But it was kind of humorous that we named our company Bullshit PR. Anyways, the company exploded. We got a beer client. It was like the hottest microbrewery client, just like getting them out there, talking about the incredible beers that they were, bringing into the microbrewing industry. Microbrewing was just getting hot in the Vancouver market where we were. And then we got Virgin Radio as our second client. And then it grew and grew. And we grew our business literally from $0, started to get more of the, 5 like monthly retainers in the 5 figures, because we started to work with the bigger clients who were referring us to other clients. So we got the beer company, we got Virgin Radio, and the Virgin Radio referred us to a shopping center. And started to develop also, in addition to all this client work, incredible relationships with our clients. And I say that's one of the secrets of my business growth is in the relationships. Fast forward 10 years into having the business, we still had our original and more clients. And having clients on retainer for 10 years in the PR and social media industry is unheard of. But we had them because of the incredible customer service that we gave to our clients. So my business partner and I, we grew the business over the next 10 years. We would have offices in Vancouver, Toronto, Los Angeles. We were the hottest award-winning PR company in North America. And like I say, we grew and scaled the business from nothing to then moving into the $250,000 mark, $500,000, $750,000 mark. And then within just a few years, we were at the $1 million mark. And throughout that point, like we were the hottest agency, like all these brands were coming to us, film clients. We got Disney. We did work for Toronto International Film Festival, a number of other film festivals. And we grew our teams, having a social media team and then also a PR team. We also started to do a lot of nonprofit work, like expanding into some new areas. We also got the local baseball team. That was awesome. Again, I talked about referrals. And the general manager of the beer company knew the president of the local baseball team. And so we just asked him, can you introduce us to the president of the baseball team? And he was associated with the major league teams out of the US, and said, yeah, no problem. I'll organize a lunch. But we authentically grew that relationship. It's not like we're all sitting down for lunch and saying, hey, like this is the work that we do. Will you hire us? We really developed deep relationships with these clients. And then that work grew. We started on a small project. Actually, it was amazing. We started on a project with the baseball team, the Vancouver Canadians, and they were working with the Boys and Girls Club to get kids who've never played baseball before onto the field that summer. And so 300 kids playing baseball right at Nat Bailey Stadium, which is iconic here in Vancouver. And we did so well on that project. We then got the baseball team. So much again is like, as I said, there's no such thing as no, there's always a yes. So how do you meet people? How do you develop those relationships? And of course, your work has to, stand for itself. How do you use your absolute smarts to be able to be doing incredible work that your clients are so happy with that they continue to refer you to? And for us, as we built the business, it was so much about relationships and this concept that we had of breaking bread. We could reach out to somebody or we could find somebody who knew them and all have lunch together. It was about building relationships over meals. And for all of our clients, every summer we would have patio lunches. And at Christmas, we would do Christmas lunches. And all of our clients said that this was their favorite time because we built such deep relationships. We would know about clients' weddings and children being born, or, was their mom sick? Or, we would send care packages, or, maybe a client was just having a really hard time and we would send spa gift cards. We also did really customized gifts, particularly for Christmas. So one year we did beautiful sugar cookies, and one of our clients was actually a hospital foundation. And so our baker did customized cookies where there were like, stethoscopes or needles or medicines, pill bottles. Or the baseball team, they got baseballs and baseball bats, and the beer company got all of their beers done as cookies. And clients love that. So much of how we built the business was really on referrals. Who could we know, who could be connected to? And as we grew the business, we also really improved our social media. So clients like Flight Center, they actually found us. We pitched them and we won the business, which is amazing. And on our first day when we did their strategy session, we actually built a Caesar bar, which they were like, okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. We're not necessarily having Caesars, but it was a great way to end the day. But, they were about travel. So we built a tiki bar with Caesars, which was just right in line with travel and adventure. And so keeping in mind the customization, those relationships with the clients, I find so much of what's in today's world is just like, how can we use technology to improve things? And absolutely you can. I'm all about having systems and processes, but it's not to the extent that you're losing that personal touch, even as you grow and scale the business or have teams that come in to be able to support on the work. Because as the business owner, you have to be careful about how deep your hands go into the work pie, right? You want to be working on the business, but not always in the business. And these are the strategies that we talk about in my program, Pathway to Millions, where we actually develop a customized roadmap for you, the 6-figure entrepreneur, to grow and scale your business to 7 figures. We actually develop a customized roadmap where we dive into your business and come up with a customized, easy method for you to grow and scale your business and gets you out of the doing and into the CEO, the leader of the business. And for us, even though we might not have been doing the actual work anymore, we still kept a finger in the pie of the business and with the clients because they loved us. And honestly, it was so juicy for us to do that. That's where I loved it. It was those individual touch points. Anyways, going back to growing and scale the business and how we did grow it is that the business was just exploding. And, we did unfortunately start to hit the plateau. They say that at 7 years, your business begins to plateau. And for me, I have to admit, I thought we were invincible. I never thought it would happen to us. And so we were making decisions with the money based on the expectations of where our growth would be and that we could keep up that momentum. But we weren't maintaining the cash flows properly. And it was like, well, we've done this previously, and we were making decisions based on the future projections that we were going to achieve. But in that, as you grow, there are going to be significant additional expenses, and we weren't fully accounting for how much it would cost us. Like when you're that busy, as you start to make the leaps into the additional hundred thousands of dollars, is that yes, you've got your team, you can plan your salaries or something like that. But when you're that busy and your team is actually too busy to actually do their work really well, you're bringing in contractors to help support. So any additional padding or any monies that we would have had was going to contractors or additional expenses to have technology to make life easier. Like we weren't looking at it really holistically. And so when that was happening, it was reducing any profits that we might have had, and it wasn't fully accounted for cash flow, if you will. Like we planned our cash flow, we knew how much we were getting coming in, and honestly, we'd achieved our targets every single year. But it started to be really off balance as to how much we had always brought in and could count on to bring, but not accounting for the fact that the expenses would be higher, or accounting for the fact that we were opening up additional offices and that they would get so busy we would have to hire in contractors and things like that. So basically you can see that there's an imbalance happening in how much money is coming in and how much money is coming out. And I'm here to tell you, as you grow and scale your business from 6 to 7 figures, like, I know the feeling of the weight on your chest, lying awake at night, wondering just how the fuck I'm going to pay for all of this, right? And, just paying the salaries or paying yourself and wondering, how am I going to pay my mortgage when I see all this money going out of the business? So what about the money that I need to be bringing home to be able to cover my life? I get that stress. Like, I've been there and I get it. And one thing we didn't have was secure financial systems in place. Because there was always so much money coming in, our attitude was like, we're invincible. There's always going to be money coming in. I don't care if there's always money coming into your business. You need to have secure financials in your business, having a line of credit, even if you don't touch it. And by the way, debt is not a bad thing if debt is used for specific purposes like investment or to give you a bridge. But you need to be structuring your debt in a certain way that it's not going to drag you down, right? And, other programs like, they talk about, increasing your financial container, expanding it and things like that. We're not going to talk about it in this episode, but I'm here to tell you is that as you're growing and scaling your business, you want to have some financial strength and security as you grow your business. So you're not lying awake at night wondering where the money is going to come from. Like, why not have a line of credit? So going back to this piece of the story is that when we did need the money, I was like frantically going to different banks. Thankfully, we got introduced to great banks, but I didn't have any relationships with any bank managers or, bank account managers to be able to quickly get a line of credit. I had $60,000 payroll due in 2 weeks, and we didn't have, and rent and things like that. And I didn't have the runway in the bank to be able to do that. And by runway, I mean the actual cash in the bank. And so I'm frantically going around asking for lines of credits. And thankfully, we managed to get one in 48 hours, which was great. But I could have saved myself the stress. Like, when you structure your business from the beginning to be able to grow and you want to grow, it's about putting in those systems and processes to be able to grow without completely freaking out, because you are going to freak out your nervous system and you start to add to all of your stress. And honestly, it was unnecessary stress. And we could have managed our money better. And honestly, this is something that you learn along the way. You're not always going to know it, but it's one of the things that I really preach, is to be able to have the financial security in the business. And also is that, there's always that fine line between paying yourself enough, having profits in the business, having money to grow. And this was also another thing that I learned is that about having enough money in all of the pots and all of the containers. In my businesses, I've always followed the profit first system, which is where you're actually putting your profit aside from the very beginning. So one, you have a profitable business, but there's always money aside. There's always money available for, emergencies or opportunities, as some people call it, so that you're always financially structured and being able to make decisions from your business about what to invest in or hire somebody because you've got clarity on your cash. That is such a big thing that I work with my clients on is that, like, what is the financial and cash plan? Or do you need to be looking at grants? How do you operationalize your business? Let's take this one a step back. A lot of my clients that I work with, they don't even have a bookkeeper yet in their business or an accountant, or also don't know the questions to ask. I love accountants, but they're not always going to give you, just the answers. Like, you have to know the questions to ask them to be able to get the information insights that you need from your business. Because accountants, generally, they're just there to do your year end, right? And so I remember one year, like, we'd always met our targets and we were about to get to the $1 million mark. We figured we'd get it in December. We actually ended up hitting $1 million about 3 months earlier. But our accountant was like, oh yeah, there's a $35,000 tax bill. And thankfully, because we had been saving money, it was easy to pay that. But I was like, we always hit our targets. Why didn't you tell us about this in advance so we could have been more prepared? But like, they don't really see it as their job. So then I would meet with our accountant twice a year to look at our numbers, being prepared for any taxes that might come up, how we could be tax efficient, have better, financial systems within the business to be able to have the correct cash flow to cover any taxes or anything that might arise. That was definitely one of the conversations that I had to input as I grew and scaled the business. Anyways, at 10 years, I did decide that I wanted to exit the business. For me, it was a 10-year plan. So I ended up selling my half of the business to my business partner and learned about exiting businesses. If anybody wants to know more about exiting businesses, drop me a note on Instagram at Almira B. Happy to start having those conversations. We won't talk about that one today, but I did do an exit. But now going back to the marketing, the positioning of the business as we grew and scale it is that it was also about the marketing. We'd had actually beautifully won a number of awards. We're on Canada's list of top 100 female entrepreneurs. We both won 40 under 40. And when you do get awards, receive awards, there's a whole PR machine behind it, but it really establishes your credibility and you can charge more. And of course, we would increase our prices as we grew, not only to cover the business costs, but because we were starting to work with larger clients, bigger paying clients. And often when you do work with a larger client, they don't actually pay you as much as a smaller client, perhaps, like they know that they're bigger and they can negotiate on pricing. And so one of the key pieces that happened as we grew and scaled the business was to be looking at our profit margins. How much would it actually cost us internally in terms of salaries and our time to service a client? And how much of a buffer was there or that we needed to charge additionally? Like what was our fee structure where there would be enough profit in there, any extra space for any additional time incurred by our team? So it became a real factor of looking at our cash, our systems in the business, like were we being efficient? Where could we have been more efficient or optimizing the business? And then second of all is that were we actually making enough money on the services that we were offering? Because revenue is great, it's amazing, but your revenue also needs to cover your taxes, your salaries, paying the partners, any additional expenses that you had. And we did end up in a situation where, we had to really rely on our line of credit for about 18 months. The cash flow that was coming into the business as we grew and scaled, and, keeping in mind now we've got 3 offices that we need to pay for rent. We'd actually originally started as a virtual company. And that was our first year. I remember that clients were like, are these girls too poor to pay for rent? And we were like, no, we don't want it. Like, why pay for rent if you don't need to? Everybody works from home. To which I say I'm now a visionary. But going back to it as we grew the business is that we had salaries to pay for and rent to pay for, plus 2 partners and our additional expenses. We had the fabulous cars and the Audis, so we had the car leases to pay. And so structuring the money and having the insights into your money is really important. And in another episode, I can also talk about the top 3 numbers that you want to know in your business at all times. My own mentor calls it your desert island numbers. And it is that if you're stranded on a desert island and you got one phone call and need to check into your business, what would be the 3 numbers that you would need to know about the financial health? And so we implemented those key numbers and, we can make decisions based on those, again, as we grew and scaled the business. But there was a lot of different, better ways of structuring. We could have handled our expenses better. We went to Cannes on business one year, which was amazing. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but we could have planned the next year better in terms of like, okay, we're growing and scaling. We know we're going to need additional funds. We're going to Cannes this year, but what does next year look like? And again, I wouldn't have changed it. I'd still go back to Cannes, but I would probably make some different financial decisions for the upcoming years. And so there's a lot as you grow and scale the business. Are you offering the right types of services and products? And how are you positioning yourself? And it's actually very easy. I'm here to tell you that, I hope I don't sound like I'm overcomplicating the whole thing as you grow and scale your business. You're doing a lot of things right in your business. I'll tell you that right now. You're doing some amazing things. And so when I work with clients, we really go into the business and we look at what's going well, what's not going great, what could be optimized, what could be made easier, where are you spending too much time, where can you delegate? And, I think we're sold this whole thing as entrepreneurs is that, what is that saying? You'll work for 80 hours to live a life that people who are working 40 hours will never get, right? Like you're in charge of your own destiny. It's and it's amazing. But entrepreneurship, we're like sold this lie that you need to work your ass off the whole time. I'm here to tell you it's not. Like I talk about the mistakes and the difficulties that we had in the business, but also it was so much fun. And I feel like a turning point happened in the business when it stopped being fun. Like there was so much stress happening in there. And I look back at it, and partially because we were just wearing so many hats and you're just trying to juggle all the balls, or trying to delegate, but being able to afford to delegate, right? And I remember, trying to find that one silver bullet strategy that would make us a ton of money. But I mean, actually, we already had the silver bullet strategies. We just weren't fully leveraging it. Um, and yeah, like I just remember that what is that thing that's the strategy that's, going to make us this much money that will allow us to be okay. And I think so much of it could have been different if we'd approached it differently, both in terms of the actual tactics that we were using, but also in the feelings that we have, because I truly do believe that we grew and scaled the business so easily from the beginning because it was so much fun. Honestly, like fun is underrated for how much it can bring to your business. Like we had so much fun and joy as we started the business, and also intent. Like if you said to me, Almira, you're going to start a PR agency, which would be one of the top agencies in the country, and frankly, one of the top boutique PR and social media agencies in North America, that, you would have traveled and lived internationally with your career and things like that. But then, going back to the PR and social media agency, that you would have a multi-million-dollar company in 5 years, like it was beyond my wildest dreams. And so we had the intention to do it. Like literally when I look back on it, and we use the Rockefeller Habits 2-page business plan. You can go online and find it. And literally it was a 2-page business plan that we put together the plan every year. We'd revisit it every month, make sure we're, on track with what the plan was. Again, we could have done a lot better job in terms of like the cash flow and the management of the business. But if somebody had said to me that you're going to start this PR agency, which I originally thought would be this small thing, and in 5 years it'd be the hottest thing and you would make multi-millions of dollars, like that's so wild to me. And I know what it's like to have the business and think it's meant to be so big and so amazing. And how do I grow this thing? And how do I not let it suck the life out of me as I grow it and scale it? And yet feel the mixed feelings of this is so amazing, but this is the hardest thing that I've ever done. I've been there, and I'm here to tell you it can be easier. There's a way to have fun and to feel that freedom and that joy in your business that you've always longed for. And, that you're frankly growing the business in order to have. You can actually grow and scale the business with that. It's totally possible. And yeah, if you're feeling like, oh my God, this is tiring and exhausting, but yet the best thing I've ever fucking done in my life, would love to have a chat with you, discuss with you, and to see how we can work together to get you to that point, to feel where it's pleasurable and to be in that feminine, right? We're talking so much about the feminine, about being in joy and ease and pleasure, and then, doing your masculine with ease. It's totally possible. And one thing I want you to know is that, I teach about what we are saying is the masculine, the strategy, the doing, but it's not done with stress. It's not done with the tearing your hair out. It's not done with the hustle and the pushing and the like moving forward really hard and aggressively. It's about really, taking a step back, being in pleasure and in joy and growing your business and having fun. It's totally possible, and honestly attracting everything to you, because that's really what it was. If you could have told me that I would attract Flight Center or these huge like Disney or these big beer companies, like again, beyond my wildest dreams. And it was really done through fun, intent, and attraction. And I'm here to tell you, you can do it. So anyways, I've talked a lot. I hope this was super helpful just to give you some insights into growing and scaling your business, and about some of the tactics and tools that you do need to do, and about some of the things that you don't have to do and how you could do it differently. We'll be talking a lot more in future episodes about systems and leadership, delegation, hiring. Please do drop us a note. Let us know me know what other topics you'd be interested in hearing as you grow and scale your business. Thank you so much for listening to the Powerful Podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you more. I'm on Instagram at AlmiraB. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Powerful Podcast. I've so enjoyed sharing all of my insights, all my mistakes, all of my learnings as I grew and scaled my business from 6 to 7 figures. If you enjoyed this, please leave us a review. And then I'll send you back my top 3 ways to make $10,000. And I tell you, they're super easy, super creative, and super easy for you to implement. So please drop us the review, send it over, and we will send you back with my top 3 ways to make $10,000.